Hey, I only have a few minutes. I figured I'd do a really quick update. I didn't really trade today. I had some really good bottom calls. Where last night I explained, especially I posted a few times in the VIP group how I'm not gonna get into any other trades because it's a bit risky. But I was really confident that the market was about to bounce, and sure enough, it did. It worked out really well for a lot of people who got into trades. Now, if you got into trades, we're getting a little mini correction now. I still think we're going to remain bullish overall, but I'm happy I didn't get into trades today because it's still a bit risky. We'll see what happens with this little correction. So we had the bounce, came off of the HMI dynamic support right at the bottom of the cloud. That worked perfectly, really. I wish I had gotten in with a big bag right at the bottom, but remember that my overall target for this bull run before we see a more substantial correction is 54K and change for Bitcoin. The altcoins obviously vary a lot, but if you remember back, this is the model I predicted back in 2019. And just for people who follow me on Twitter, or people who didn't follow me on Twitter but follow me on YouTube, just so you're aware, I'm not really on Twitter anymore. I set up a new account at DEFNOTDARTH at DefNotDarth. It's just a joke because they keep suspending, they keep banning me. Probably because they get me for like evading suspension, even though my original suspension was bullshit and I appealed it and they just don't answer appeals. So make sure you're following me on everything else. In the description for this video, I'll put my links for Telegram, Instagram. I've never used Instagram for crypto, but I'm going to start. So Telegram, Instagram, obviously my Discord server where I have Flux Trading Group, the VIP group, the private group, and then, I guess I could even share other stuff too, maybe like Parlor, but we'll see. For now, I have some social media, and I do have a Twitter account, but I'm probably not going to be doing much content on there. I'm just going to use it to watch and pay attention to what's going on with other people. But if you remember, like I was saying, from my analysis in 2019, where I predicted for this bull run, I had laid out what the targets would be. So the 2618 extension became the target after the 1618 extension was broken. So originally my target for this bull run had us going up to the 1618 extension at 35K. Then once that broke, I was like, all right, well, the next target's the 2618 extension at 54K. And this is going all the way back from the beginning in the beginning of the run in 2016 to 2017. Took us all the way to nearly 20K before the correction back to 3,200. For those who don't remember, I predicted 3280 would be the bottom almost a year in advance, and I was almost pretty much spot on. So from that point up until now, we've gone really parabolic here, so we are going to have a big extended correction. I was actually predicting an extended correction before this segment of the bull run. I thought we were going to get one of those big extended corrections before the really big breakout to where we are now. But instead of getting that correction before, we got right into that bull run, and we've been killing it ever since, making a lot of money on trades. It's been going really well. So remember, we do have little corrections along the way. This is a very small correction. We had a much bigger correction when we hit the 1618 extension. We came back down nearly 30% on that dip before we went up into this last leg. But I don't think we're done. I think we still need to get to that 2618 extension at the very least. At this point, we are extra technical, meaning that it's not just the technical models that I care about. I'm not just looking at the TA. I'm coming up with potential targets, but there is a lot going on in the world, whether it's political realities, there are issues with our financial system and the way the stock market affects other asset classes like crypto or commodities. There are a lot of variables at play. I often talk about my data analysis model, FATAPaMP, FATAPAMP. And what that means is fundamental analysis, technical analysis, people, and market psychology. So there are 4 different types of data that I utilize when I'm trying to consider what I think is going to happen in the market. Fundamental analysis is a big part of it. Technical analysis is another big part. But then you also have to consider people and market psychology. People could refer to Roger Ver, who will promote Bitcoin Cash and cause Bitcoin Cash to go on a strong bull run while everything else is in the middle of a big dump. Or you could talk about Elon Musk and his propensity to joke around about Dogecoin, which actually causes the price of Dogecoin to pump pretty hard, or his interest in Bitcoin and how he's going to bring Bitcoin into the fold with Tesla and his other endeavors, and that's going to dramatically affect the price by increasing exposure and bringing traditional investors into a space that they would otherwise be intimidated by. So individual people can play a huge role, and then there's market psychology, which is one of the reasons why I'm still on Twitter, even though they keep banning me, because I want to keep my finger on the pulse. I want to know what the community is thinking, what people are talking about. I want to get a good sense of fear and excitement, and I want to know how people feel about the market and what people are saying about the market, whether it's analysts or just small-time investors, just the little fish. I want to know what everybody is thinking and everybody is saying, and that's a huge part of it. So because of all that, even though the technicals tell me that the next target's 54.6K, that doesn't mean we can't go straight to 100K. We could. We are hyper bullish now, and we are extra technical now. That means we are in such a bullish environment that the technical models don't matter to an extent. They're helpful to identifying precision reversals when you're looking for a switch from a bear to a bullish market or a bullish to a bearish market. They're really helpful in a lot of ways, especially with short-term trading, but in these longer-term analyses, you have to consider everything else. You need to look at fundamentals and market psychology. And right now, it feels like we're still very early on in this bull run. We just got here so fast, so it's intimidating, and it makes you feel like we're going to crash because we've gone so parabolic so fast. But think about it. Like we were done. We were going to see a bigger correction. It felt like we really hit the top of that 1618 extension, and then a lot of things changed. There were political changes. You had Elon Musk released that Tesla had gotten into Bitcoin. We could hear that MasterCard is going to start accepting Bitcoin next week, and that could drive us right to 55K and hit that 2618 extension. So there are so many variables at play. It seems like we're early on, and there's nothing but more potential. So don't get worried just because we're having a little dip. It's obviously normal. Even on the entire way up, when we were getting really big candles printed, we had those red candles every once in a while, and it won't even be outside of the ordinary to get a few in a row. I don't think we will here. I think we're going to continue going up in pretty short order and go to that 2618 extension. And then I'd probably look at it and see if we might get a little bit of a bigger correction. Or again, there's still a chance we can keep running higher beyond that. The altcoin market can still run as long as Bitcoin is stable. If Bitcoin's correcting and coming down like it is right now, the altcoin market is going to hurt. That's why you see everything else in the red for the most part. Even though it started off the day in the green really strong, now we're a bit in the red across the board. And the same goes for Ethereum. It's going to follow BTC pretty closely. So you should keep all that stuff into account, all those other data analyses models, right? You want to look at the higher time frames when we're looking at like the Stoke model, for instance. This tells me without a doubt we are going to get a long-term extended correction. It's going to take months to come back down. However, targeting that exact top is damn near impossible. Right now, I would have bet that it was going to happen months ago when we first started to reach that overbought max and start to turn south. That's why I thought we were going to get that long-term extended correction before the bull run. Then we just broke into the bull run, and this is why I say extra technical, kind of beyond the technicals. You can see my technical model here has an amazing track record, and it was screaming at us, we're about to dump big for a long time. And then it just went into a super bull run and pumped, regardless of what the technical model said. So just because something tells you that it's looking bearish doesn't mean it is. At this point, the technicals are not that helpful in the longer term when you're trying to anticipate overall trends. You're going to have to wait and just kind of see what happens and let things play out, and that's what we're doing right now. Short term, I'm making really good trades on altcoins. I'm getting into longer term altcoin positions that have been growing nonstop for this bull run. I think there's a lot more potential there. But given the fact that we could see a top at any minute and see us drop into an extended correction, you always want to make sure you have your stop losses in place. You want to make sure you're considering your risk profile. And every trade you get into, you should have that under consideration. Does this fit my risk profile, or am I taking more risk than I should be taking? I think you've heard me talk about that stuff, plenty. So at this point, until later tonight, I'm probably not going to enter into any trades. I want to see what's happening on the short-term stuff. Short-term, the models are obviously still very hopeful. The 4-hour and the hourly still looks bullish. Each of my dynamics held really well on Bitcoin, but we're not getting that much of a push on this shift up. So because of that, I'm not 100% confident that this is going to hold. We might get another leg down and push down lower. If we do, there are a lot of potential targets. Like if we were to get a real correction based on the 4-hour, we could come back down to the top of the cloud foreseeably. We could get back to the low 40s. And if we break the top of the cloud, we are almost certainly going to the bottom of the cloud in the 222 EMA. So just under 40K, around 37 to 39K. That would be the perfect target. So if we were to go into a bigger dump now that takes the next 2 or 3 days, that would be the perfect target, would be the bottom of the cloud, and the 222 EMA right here on the 4 hour. If we were to get down to that region over the course of a couple days with some really big dump candles like we had in the beginning of January, that would be an incredible opportunity, because we would have a nice reset across the board on all the altcoins. We'd be able to get in at the bottom for that next push up and make a ton of money. So that's something you want to keep an eye out for. We want to see what happens in the short term. If we can get back to a high, if we can get above, say, well, if we can get into 50K or above, that would alleviate my concerns and tell me that we are most likely going to push into that next leg right now. But I don't really know that. I don't have any confidence in that with any level of certainty until we see how this plays out. So if the 4 hour can't get a push up into 50K in the next, well, this candle has an hour and 40 minutes left. And then the next candle after that, so between this and the next candle, we pretty much have 2 more candles on the 4 hour. If we can't get above 50K by then, there's a good chance we do push a little bit lower and test out another low and get a bit more of a correction. But again, the higher time frames don't help us as much. So the daily's good for some stuff, but I really need to see what's happening on the short term to give me an idea of whether or not I'm going to be entering trades. I'm still in a holding pattern. I'm still not buying into anything right now, and I'll share with you guys when I have more information. For open positions, any trades you have that are still open, I got into some short-term trades that got stopped out, like IOTX I had gotten in, and that dumped. I got into a new short-term trade on ADA, that obviously dumped with the entire market. So all the newer stuff I got into dumped with the entire market dumping yesterday. But my other longer-term positions that I had been in, I had taken profit on, and I had a stop loss. So even the ones I got stepped out on, I made a lot of money on it. Sushi, for instance, being one. 46% on the pump, sold half, had my stop loss a little bit above my entry, so I got stopped out for a profit with the rest of it, but the initial breakout is where I got most of my gains. Same thing with Key, same thing with a lot of these guys. Oh no, Key I'm still in. This Key is actually a great one, because Key managed, with everything dumping super hard yesterday, it held so well and never actually stopped me out. So in this guy, I'm actually still in an open risk-free position, a long-term position. We might make another push down here and stop me out, but I'm willing to let it ride because I made so much money on the initial breakout when I sold half. I caught it all the way at the top pretty much for like 40% profit. But in any case, any longer term holds you have where you're up a lot, I would definitely move your stop loss up tighter. Just give back some of those gains and take as much profit as you can. I mean, in VTHO, that was a 10x play for the most part. I obviously didn't sell it for a full 10x. I sold it for about 900% profit. I posted about it in the group when I did. I managed to sell right before this big dump. It's making another push up now, but I wouldn't consider buying in long term right now. I want to see how these things play out. Once I have more confidence, I'll make a decision. So again, in a holding pattern on short-term trades, longer-term stuff, you definitely want to make sure your stop loss has some profits locked in. So if we do correct, you're not going to end up taking a loss. You're not going to lose back all of your profits. You want to lock in some of them. And then getting into some of these trades that I got stepped out on, like some of my favorite trades like UNI or UMA, I haven't made a decision yet on what I'm going to do about that. I'm probably going to wait on those just like I'm waiting on everything else. When I say a holding pattern, I probably am going to stay out of 100% everything until later tonight. Once the kids go to bed, I may consider getting into some other setups. But just to summarize everything I went over, obviously, I've said it a dozen times, I'm in a holding pattern. I'm not getting into new trades. You definitely want to take into account the fact that we are hyper bullish and extra technical. So if you do trade using TA and technical models, you want to also factor in fundamentals and market psychology and look at those other data sets, which brings me back to FATAPaMP, FATAPAMP. My data analysis model is crucial. You need to make sure that you consider other types of data in addition to what you're used to. There are a lot of people who say, oh, I'm a technicals trader, I'm a fundamental trader. I trade swings, I day trade, I scalp. You never want to limit yourself to a particular strategy or a particular type of data analysis. You want to stay open-minded and consider everything. You want to use every tool in your arsenal. And the more data that you can use in considering your analyses, the more successful you'll be every single time without fail. The most success I've had in this game has been when other people didn't anticipate a big move, and I did, whether it was a big dump down or a big pump up. I'm able to predict those big moves because I'm considering all types of data, and I'm not limiting myself to just one particular school of thought. And then lastly, make sure you're following me on Telegram and all my other social media. I want to make sure I can get the word out and share content. That includes all my educational content. And if you are not in Flux Trading Group now and you wanted to join, I would love to have you. I need everybody I can in the group. I was thinking of shutting down the group if I can't reach people through social media, but without Twitter, I should still be able to build a reach on other platforms. Plus, every member who's in the group that has like a 1 year membership, people sign up for a year to get a discount. I'm not going to go anywhere as long as I have those members. What I may do is, if I were to shut down the group, I would just stop allowing people to sign up for additional time, and I would stay in the group until the last member expired. Because I'm not going to leave you guys once you paid. Obviously, I'm 100% committed. There's no way I would leave as long as I have one single paying member. So I'm probably not going to shut it down, but I would, any support you could provide now, if you were to sign up for the group or follow me on all my social media and help by sharing my content on social media, that would all be tremendously helpful, including sharing this video on Twitter, or sharing my Telegram post on Twitter, anything. Just helping me get out there. The more I can reach out to the community, the more people I can help, and the more people can help me. And then I can still focus a lot of my energy on doing this sort of stuff instead of only focusing on my other work or my trading, because I can't teach other people if I'm focusing on trading nonstop. Anyway, that's the spiel. I'll do another video update later if we start to get some movement. Let's see what happens with this correction, if it holds or if it goes lower. We should know in the next 6 hours. Like I said, there's only 2 hours left on this 4-hour candle. Then we have one more 4-hour candle after that. So we'll see. If this 4-hour candle, this red one, ends in 1 hour and 40 minutes, and the next candle gives us a nice spike up to 5K, 50K, that'll tell me we're most likely going to see really big upward movement overnight. That's when I would load up on some altcoin trades. I'd look for some surgically precise entries. I would try to find setups where the hourly and the 4-hour both match up, where they're both correcting back to each of my dynamic supports. If you're not using my Ichima indicator, make sure you search for it. If you just go to indicators and type Ichima, you'll see Jesse S. Feinberg, Ichima Dynamics with the Amazing Cloud for Darth Crypto. Just use that, and that includes the 55, the 99, the 222 EMA, and it includes the Ichimoku Cloud with my settings of 20, 60, 120, and 30. So you have all those indicators in one, so for those of you who have free TradingView, you don't have to use up your only couple free indicators. You have all 4 indicators rather, in a single indicator taking up one slot. And then you obviously want to set up the Stoke oscillator with 533 as your settings, and then you'll have a chart just like mine and you'll know what I'm talking about. But if we could see something where the hourly and the 4-hour have support from the Ichima Dynamics, and we have a nice clean bullish reset on the Stoke where we're nice and low, below 30 or 40 at the very least, and we're starting to turn up, that's going to be the start of a really big push up. If you can find any altcoins that have a setup like that, I'll get in them with you most likely. But that's only if Bitcoin can make that last push and get close to 50K again on the next 4-hour candle. So that's going to be the key. We want to watch this next 4-hour candle once this one ends in 1.5 hours. And then I'll let you know when we see some movement. I'll do another video and update you guys. So stay tuned, and we'll catch up later. Thanks for stopping by.